This video is brought to you by Harold Sack, who gave me a massive 1 year's worth of subscriptions on Patreon. Arabella versus Babele Saga, Zerda and Phineas. 2 lands, plenty of white mana. We're going to need some more lands there, but I'll try keeping this one because I like the Takesia's Welcome. No plays on turn 1 and we will follow suit with that. We do get into our commander's colours here now, so get that in and maybe go for Arabella on turn 2. Turn 1 Sol Ring for Phineas. And we see an Ancient Tomb from Zerda, so get down a turn 2 Denetha. Marionette Apprentice, and comes in with a Servo token. Alright, and another land for us is good, so I think we're just going to play out the Ganjo and go for Arabella. Still no green mana for the Phineas player, but it looks like we've got a fellow Hare Apparent deck, so maybe finally we'll actually see some decent Hare Apparent gameplay here. Down to 4 cards in hand, he gets his second one out. I'm going to go a bit slower here and do some setting up with the likes of Molten Gatekeeper and Takesia's Welcome. Burnished Heart for the Boros player and is able to get down a mountain this turn. Babele Saga is the second commander to hit play. Alright, and an Urza's Saga, so yeah, got a few artifacts we can grab with that. Skull Clamp, Sol Ring, Wayfarer's Bauble. We'll just get the ticker going on this. I think I want to keep cantripping for as long as I can, so Takesia's Welcome here. And we'll hold back our commander as a blocker because I think it's holding cards like Denetha away from us. But we'll be able to double spell next turn, or maybe even the turn after with something like Hare Apparent. We do have lots of pingers in the deck, so I do want to be taking advantage of those, especially if we start to chain off the Hare Apparents. Seasoned Warren Guard, so it's not just Hare Apparent, he does have some other rabbits available. Still doesn't have his green mana though. Zerda into play now, and with the commander in play, gets down a Lightning Greaves, and throws that on the commander of course. And for only 1 mana, was able to crack the Burnished Heart. And now able to swing in with Zerda. We get hit for 3, and the Denetha goes to the left against the rabbits. I would be half tempted to double block against this thing before it becomes too much of a problem, but it does mean losing out on your Hare Apparents with only 4 cards in hand, so doubt he's going to block here. Although you could go Hare Apparent and block with these 2 rabbits here, and then you'd only lose out on 1 creature. Yeah, I'd definitely be trying to get rid of Denetha personally. Bastion of Remembrance for the Golgari player, so slowly setting up all these things here. We draw into a Talisman of Conviction, so getting into our ramp a little bit too late, but probably still be able to sneak it in here. Doesn't change our plans any, so that's good. I've been trying to hold on to the Wooded Foothills to get down a tap dual land, but I think we'll just turn it into a plateau here, which means we can then go Talisman and the Molten Gatekeeper, and our opponents still don't know that we're a Hare Apparent deck. But if we have a Sol Ring next turn, it'll be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. So that's 2, 4, 6 and 1 to equip. Should be able to do this and start swinging with Arabella. So that comes in and triggers the Takesia's Welcome for the first time. We'll trigger that next turn as well, hopefully. Alright, a Myriad Landscape we might be able to get down next turn as a tap land. Intrepid Rabbit now. Love the artwork on that. And that is, yeah, Offspring. So when this creature enters, target creature you control gets +1/+1. So they'll get to do that twice. And all that put onto a Hare Apparent. So a 4/4 swings in over there. Obviously didn't block the Denetha, so still has that to deal with. See another utility land for Zerda, that is Slayer's Stronghold. So +2 to power, vigilance and haste. And I've also got down a SRAM Senior Edificer. So now playing an equipment into that, which cantrips a Corda's Shield, +3 to toughness and vigilance, meaning vigilance can go onto the commander for only 1 mana. Then another cantripping artifact, Sword of the Animist, and again that will be able to be equipped for 1 as well. Sunforger, always a scary one, and of course throwing that on the commander, we'll just have to hope that the Lightning Greaves, he forgets to throw that on there as well. Denetha swinging in towards us as a 3/3 that had the Sword of the Animist put onto it. The commander is currently a 7/6, and that has vigilance as well, so yeah, that goes into the right. I was going to say I'd be surprised if that didn't turn in sideways, or not turn in sideways as it happens. So getting some more ramp with the sword. Babyliss Saga activated there, sacrificing 3 permanents, and they did block the Zerda with the servo token, so not taking a hit from the commander. Here we see a Virus Beetle, more sack fodder. When it enters, each opponent discards. I think we'll just have to get rid of the Myriad Landscape then, seeing as how it is a slower land anyway. But this is why it's so important for us to have the Acacia's Welcome in play. Just a shame that Wizards have started feeling the need to trigger only once a turn. I don't see why, when you've got cards like SRAM, I don't see why you can't have a card like this that triggers on non-tokens. Like, you could have it trigger on non-token creatures and then just trigger an infinite number of times a turn, for as long as you can play creatures. But that's where we are, so we have to remember to tap as a Saga for mana during the main phase, draw into another land. So tap that for mana. I don't think we care about making an artifact token. And there's an argument to be made here for us going for the Skull Clamp if we go Hare Apparents. We'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana this turn, which is 2 Hare Apparents and a Skull Clamp play and activation. I'm going to go for Skull Clamp. I've changed my mind at the last second. So let's play Mountain. Play ourselves a Hare Apparent. We're not seeing any trample from this player yet, although that Sunforger is scary. So I'll see what we draw into from the first Acacia's Welcome trigger. First and last of this turn. Ping our opponent with the Molten Gatekeeper. And another land, yeah, I'm glad I got into the Skull Clamp now. Let's go for Hare Apparent again. And this will give us a token so that we can Skull Clamp it. But it will also trigger the Molten Gatekeeper, of course. So we get a couple of triggers there. Shocking our opponents. Boros player already down to 27. We're already down to 28 though. Skull Clamp on the rabbit. Might be that we have to take another hit, unfortunately, because we're not holding up that many good blockers. We do get some more Hare Apparents though, so we want to be looking at another turn really of not getting absolutely battered. Maybe could have swung in with Arabella to the left before I decided to sacrifice the rabbit, but I don't think I'd risk swinging in here without something like the Regalia. So I'll put Skull Clamp onto Arabella. If anything needs removal, it's probably her. Maybe could have put it on a Hare Apparent so we can chump block if we're desperate. But I'm just thinking if anyone has Destruction Magic, they'll want to point it here. If it's going to be pointed at any of our stuff, I don't think we're a threat at the moment. I think Zerda and Babyliss Saga are the ones to look out for. We are losing out on life not swinging in with our commander this whole time though. It's taking us a little bit too long to set up for my liking. The other Hare Apparent player deciding to scoop it up on us. Sunforger being activated here, so this is where we start to see threats from Zerda. Okay, didn't see anything from the Sunforger cast there. They do have a Mox Opal in play. Not sure when that snuck down. 1 card in hand. Okay, activating Sunforger again. I'm not sure. Maybe they just misclicked. Alright, and there's Swords to Plowshares, throwing that onto the Marionette Apprentice. If that's the worst they can go for with Sunforger, then I'm not too worried. They can abuse Sunforger here though, because it's only 1 to equip and 2 to unattach, so they can do that. How many times here? I think they're lacking on coloured mana, so maybe just once more. Anyway, Babyliss Saga activated again. It's difficult to keep track of what's sacrificed. Looks like it was maybe a token, Virus Beetle, and a Forest. So the Saga triggers, Marionette Apprentice triggers in response. Yeah, they didn't sacrifice the Marionette Apprentice when it's got a Swords to Plowshares pointed at it. Maybe they didn't go for all 3 permanents. They've got 10 cards in hand. I thought they had 7 before, so yeah, I think they did go for the correct number of permanents there. Anyway, Swords to Plowshares looks as though it's allowed to land on the Apprentice. And there we go, they had a Path to Exile, so that's why they didn't point anything at our commander. Got 0 cards in hand though, so we will get some ramp at least. I'll go for a Plains here. Do have Field of the Dead in the deck for our ping effects, so I've mixed the basics up. So the question is, do we care about going for our commander next turn, or are we just doing the Hare Apparent burn thing? I mean, it's a Hare Apparent list, so I suppose we kind of have to do that, and we can hopefully get some relevant chump blockers in the way as well. Lightning Greaves has stayed on the SRAM this whole time. 0 cards in hand, so I wouldn't have thought he'd necessarily be too bothered about protecting that. And I'm assuming as well he doesn't have card draw that he can fetch out with Sunforger. SRAM to the right, and Anetho was going to go into the right. Looks like it's coming in towards us. Commander's going into the right, that's good. Buys us another turn, which is exactly what we need. Needed another turn with our Commander in tow, really, but it's not likely that Arabella is going to stick in play for any length of time. 7 Commander damage landed over here. We are down to 20 life. And Babylus Saga, that is 4 mana available, 7 cards in hand, and just passing the turn. Yet another land for us. Alright, so this is where I'm glad that we went for Skull Clamp with the Urza Saga, because we're just not getting into anything that's all that incredible, really. So, draw with Casey's Welcome, Molten Gatekeeper going to ping a bunch, because we're now starting to get all of our tokens into play, hopefully. So there we see 2 rabbit tokens made, 3 pings in total. Draw the card, draw our next land. Yep. So we'll go Hare Apparent again. Maybe could have gone for a Skull Clamp onto the rabbit token to try and get into an Impact Tremors or something. Denetha, because it wasn't blocked previously, which I think it should have been by the other Hare Apparent player, is gaining life over there, which is relevant against burn. But I think this is the most tokens that we've ever seen with Hare Apparent. Getting our opponent down to 16. This is... it would have been nice to be able to swing in with Arabella. We would have had 2, 4, 6 plus 5 is 11. So we would have been able to deal 11 damage to both players. Unfortunately, had the Path to Exile available to him. So let's play Access Tunnel, and I think we'll just try and draw into some kind of haste for our commander. Alright, a Smothering Tithe is more mana. Hare Apparent is tempting, but I think we just need to craft ourselves a really decent hand before the board gets wiped. Alright, Wheel of Fortune, more Hare Apparent. Okay, so clearing a load of cards off the top. We're not seeing much of this burn or haste. We're not really getting into any of the stuff that we are eager for, but we're clearing cards and keeping our hand full at least, so we'll leave it at that and hope that we keep this thing in play. It does have Unearth at least, but if it's going to go down, it's probably to an Exile effect. Although we have seen both of these now, so maybe not. Now, it's noteworthy that we've got both Smothering Tithe and Wheel of Fortune available to us, so we can force our opponents into new cards, which means we make a load of treasure tokens with the Tithe. Unfortunately, this Sunforger can continue to be abused, and I'm assuming that he's got lots and lots of targets with this thing. Although in a Boros equipment deck, he may well run out of targets before the game is up. Alright, excellent. Beast Within goes on to the Zerda, which does not have the... where is it? The Lightning Greaves equipped, so being punished for that, but unfortunately has made plenty of mana. Enlightened Tutor, I would have let the Enlightened Tutor resolve personally, because this might now dictate what they go after, now that their Zerda has been blown up. Oh, okay, Tragic Slip also, they've got plenty of removal apparently, goes on to the Molten Gatekeeper. I mean, that's not the worst thing that could have happened, because now we can actually make use of the Unearth at least. So, as long as the board doesn't get wiped, which it might do now that Zerda's gone down, as long as the board doesn't get wiped, we might be able to just ignore our commander, unearth this, and just go off with Hare Apparent next turn. So they tutored up, after knowing their commander gets blown up, a Shadow Spear, so they're eager for life gain. The one card in their hand is the Shadow Spear, which will cantrip when it enters. Sunforger paying the full cost on the Denetha, so that's now a 7-3 with lifelink. And a Corder's Shield goes on to SRAM. Looks like they're being lax with this Lightning Greaves. I mean, we're both tapped out, so they're assuming that we don't have anything, but I'd definitely be putting Lightning Greaves onto Denetha, just in case. There are free spells to consider nowadays. So the 7-3, Vigilance, First Strike and Lifelink to the right. I mean, it doesn't really matter who it attacks, we've got tokens either side to block with. The SRAM goes in at us, the 3-3, it's all turning in at us. So trigger Sword of the Animist. I think we are just looking to take 5 damage and we'll chump the Denetha. They can still pay for the Sunforger, but they'll be tapped out after that, so we'll take our 5 damage going down to 15. And we just need to hope that the Golgari player doesn't have a board wipe that he's willing to cast. Ideally, this player would tap out on his next turn, sacrifices a bunch of stuff again. Yeah, his token, Bastion of Remembrance, and the Forest. So we go down to 11. Yeah, I was saying ideally this player would tap out, and then we could maybe set up Smothering Tithe and Wheel of Fortune. They can't do anything during our turn to interfere, although Sunforger has been held up, so maybe he has Teferi's Protection or something. Might just be worth holding off on this play until after a board wipe. 8 cards in the Golgari player's hand. Heaped Harvest for Barbarous Saga when it enters, and when you sacrifice it you can search for a basic. A Wayfarer's Bauble as well, just getting as much sack fodder as he can seemingly. Alright, so what we're worried about mainly is the Sunforger at the moment. You'll never guess what we just drew into. So yeah, I think we're just going Hare Apparent. When this comes in it's other, isn't it? So that means that we get 4 tokens on the first one, then 5 tokens, then 6 tokens, then 7 tokens. So I think that's 22 points of damage we can deal here. I'm going to go for the Skull Clamp first. I just want to try and get into some more relevant burn. If we get into something here, I mean it might be that we do just go Smothering Tithe into a wheel and make 14 mana and then just try and go from there. Like if we can get into Perforos or something, it might be that we can one-shot our opponents. Yeah, it's just more Hare Apparents as you would expect in this deck. Really missing a Thrumming Stone or something. Let's just do what we came here to do, go Hare Apparent. Barbarous Saga just seems to be continuing to set up, and this player, depending on what you can get with this, only has 1 card in hand, doesn't seem to have too much of anything. Maybe we can just go for the Smothering Tithe without the wheel. Yeah, let's do that. So if this player wants to draw a bunch of cards with his commander, he might want to do it now, but he's going to be tapped out, so might just want to give us the treasure instead. Yeah, just decide to let it in. Let's clamp on a rabbit token, and we'll hold on to that burn spell for the next few turns, I think. I was hoping all this time we'd get into some means of haste for our commander. Problem is we're allowing the Boros player another turn here as well, but might be that we wouldn't have got him here anyway. Alright, there we go. Something like that for our commander is good. So we'll see how many treasure tokens we get over the next turn cycle. I think I'll finally get rid of the Regalia, because we're just going to be spending all of our mana on Hare Apparents. Didn't make use of his Sunforger, but does draw a card at the draw step as you would expect, so Smothering Tithe likely going to make us a treasure. If he does pay for the tax, we'll assume he doesn't have too much in hand. We know he's got the Shadow Spear, which he decided not to play last turn for whatever reason. Does pay for the tax and uses life to do it as well. Out comes Zerda, does not decide to hold up the mana to give it haste. He's got Lightning Greaves available to him of course, and can gain more life with Denetha, which I assume is what he's relying on here. He still hasn't moved that Lightning Greaves though. Now Greaves goes on the commander. Sunforger unequipped. Only has 1 source of red mana left available to him with the Mox Opal, which is relevant if he wants to go for that again. Boros Charm for damage to a target player. Okay, so that wouldn't have saved them from all of our burn previously. I don't know why they're so eager to just play a Boros Charm out of the blue. That does suggest that they're running out of targets for Sunforger. That's the type of thing that you would save for a board wipe. And deciding to swing in again, the 7-3 to the right, Zerda at us. We get everything else. I think we're fine to just chump block with all our rabbits here, because we do need to start being concerned with Barbarous Saga. Looks as though Barbarous Saga blocked and then sacrificed itself. Did get rid of the Heaped Harvest, so gets a Rampant Growth out of that. So does draw those 3 cards, and Smothering Tithe will net us a decent amount of mana here. Goes up to 9 in hand though, so this is assuming that we don't see a board wipe. Now let's see what he can do with his 5 mana. He has been sacrificing lands all game. We've got enough treasure tokens to get our commander out, then it's the enchantment and activate it. Leaves us with 2, 4 and 6 mana. And there we go, the Damnation. We were assuming that there was going to be a board wipe, so that wipes everything out. Does not go for Teferi's Protection or anything in response, so I'm just going to assume it's not in the deck. Maybe he's not aware that he can do this on an opponent's turn. I don't think he has done anything with this on an opponent's turn. Using this with something like Mistveil Plains, I think, is the land you can put a card from your graveyard onto the bottom of your deck so you can go and fetch things again. Is particularly potent, but yeah, we don't see it here unfortunately. Alright, so there's Delny to double things up, so make a land for the turn. I think we do want our commander in play. But do we want the Pinger first? Gonna have to plan this turn out, I think. 4 mana with the Molten Gatekeeper and Delny. 4 mana with our commander, then 3 mana to give it haste, leaves us with 2 for a Hare Apparent. Isn't all that frightening really. I think we just have to forego Delny and the burn creature. Let's start trying to gain life this turn. We know there's no swords or path available at least. So draw a card with the welcome. And there we go, Thrumming Stone. So, well, we want the break through the line first. Might be that there's more spot removal from this player. We've seen quite a bit of it so far. So from here we can go 1 Hare Apparent to 3 Hare Apparents and haste, which I think is the thing to do here. And then if they've got removal, so be it. Hopefully we'll have enough blockers to get rid of any hasty creatures, or stop any hasty creatures from hitting us. So target Arabella with the break through the line, making it unblockable, and giving it haste. And then we'll get down our 3 Hare Apparents, getting some tokens in, hopefully some life gain. So that leaves us with 3 Hare Apparents and 3 rabbit tokens. So total number of creatures is 7. And let's go through to attacking in at the right. Doesn't really matter where we attack because Arabella's damage isn't exactly going to be relevant in combat. It's the trigger that we're concerned with. So we go back up to 15, that's a bit more comfortable. And taking the Boros player down to 7. So ideally what we'll be able to do next turn is show off what the deck is supposed to do and get down Molten Gatekeeper, Thrumming Stone, and do some stuff with Hare Apparent, maybe even sneak down Delny. That would be ideal. Problem is I'm not sure that this player is going to tap out this turn unless he's eager to get his commander in and get a lot of equips off. If he does tap out, I'll feel more comfortable about a wheel. Pays for the treasure for Smothering Tithe, so we don't get one over there. And there's a gamble, he's only got 1 card in hand. And discarded an Imperial Recruiter, so I'm assuming that that's what he gambled for, in order to get a more permanent means of a tutor, and then it's something to equip things to as well. He's about to play something here, so he might reveal the last card in his hand. Nope, instead shows us Zerda again. Takes life to the Ancient Tomb. And there we see the Shadow Spear. Sunforger can be equipped here for just 1 mana, so that will gain him a nice amount of power in order to gain life with the Shadow Spear. And he'll even be able to hold up the Boros mana in order to activate it. Throws a Quarter Shield on there instead, so this is a 4/7. Does now have trample thanks to the Shadow Spear, which is of some relevance. Throw Sunforger on there as well, so it is now an 8/7. Sword of the Animist as well, he's going to get all his equipment on there. Not making anywhere near as much use out of the Sunforger as I was scared he was going to. This is the type of card, I keep babbling on about it, but this is the type of card that can take over an entire game. So now with a 9/8 trample, swings in to the right. Will not get commander damage on him just yet. Not lethal commander damage anyway. And takes himself up to 14 again. 16 commander damage here, so another hit from that Zerda and he's going to go down. Still not too much mana available to the Golgari player, so does give us a treasure token. His commander is in the command zone, he didn't put it into the graveyard. 7 cards in hand though, and not showing any signs of giving up just yet. Okay, and that snuck by really quick. Balagad Recovery was able to fish out the Damnation, so playing that again, our commander goes into the command zone, but our opponents are tapped out here. So what can we set up next turn? I think we're ignoring our commander, and we're finally unearthing this, and going for Thrumming Stone and hoping we can do some stuff with Hare Apparent. We don't have as much mana from the Smothering Tithe as I was hoping. Getting to a board wipe myself, ironically. Alright, Thrumming Stone. And we just need to hope that this goes well for us. We also need to hope that no one scoops in response, because of course that is a factor that you need to consider on Magic Online. So yeah, I'd love to have got down Delny, but we just needed 1 more treasure. Yeah, so let's click the Wheel of Fortune, and we'll hope that we can see another Hare Apparent or 2. No point in doing the Ripple with the Wheel of Fortune, we've only got 1 of them in the deck. It does land, and we do only get a couple of Hare Apparents. There's another bit of tech I'd like to use, but probably won't get to this game. Another round means that we can flicker our Hare Apparents. So we've refilled the Boros player's hand. I'm just hoping that that doesn't hurt us ultimately here, because Well, I'm just hoping that we can actually win at this point. So 15 treasure and an untapped land. We will get our Molten Gatekeeper into play. Takeshi's Welcome draws us a card for the first time. And there's a Stroke of Midnight, which I don't think we're going to need. Might as well play the Clifftop Retreat. And then play ourselves the Hare Apparent. And that will ripple forth thanks to the Thrumming Stone that we managed to get ourselves into before the wheel. We see one Hare Apparent, and casting that will ripple as well, even though it's off the top. We saw Perforos and Agate Instigator finally, but they are long gone onto the bottom of the library. So we're just going to ripple forth for as long as we can. We see another one straight out of the library, so we're going to do this well for as long as we can really, and hopefully play it all into the Molten Gatekeeper. We need to see 16 creatures hit play. Hit another Hare Apparent. There's 28 of these in the deck, so it's no wonder that we keep seeing them. And we haven't whiffed yet. We actually get 2 there, so as soon as you hit 2, it's not likely that you're going to miss from that point on, because you get to see 8 cards in total on, and the fact that there's no Hare Apparents in the top 8 of your library isn't very likely. So there's one on the first ripple of those 2. There's Witty Roastmaster, another means of us pinging. And another one. I mean, I'm just going to fast forward at this point, I think, because I imagine you all get the idea. Shared animosity for when we actually want to swing in with all these Hare Apparents. But it's not likely that we're ever going to be allowed to do that, because combat is so difficult in Commander nowadays. Unless you want to completely play around the fact that all your board has haste, which I haven't really done here. Field of the Dead to add to some ping effects there as well. Alright, so I mean, we can cast another Hare Apparent. I might actually just leave it here so that we can... I'm going to just say no, because it would be nice to actually show all the pings, and our opponents are actually being quite patient here. So we'll take advantage. So the first Hare Apparent enters and triggers, of course. So we'll yield on that. Molten Gatekeeper might crash the client when lots of tokens start coming in, but I'll auto yield anyway, because we're hoping that we've got the game here. So then the second Hare Apparent enters, and going to start making the tokens for the first time this turn. So we can see the Molten Gatekeepers starting to pile up. And like I said, if we do need to trigger again, we've got another round. We've got Hare Apparent as well in our hand. So I'm quietly confident that we've got it here. Got the Boros player down to 8 when this next Hare Apparent enters. So that is 6 tokens in total. 4 entered there, so taking him down to half of the life total. And this player decided to scoop before he takes the damage. We've got 6 more to hit the Baba Yaga with, but I think we're going to do that right here. Oh no, it's 5 tokens, isn't it? Because it was 4 previously. So taking him down to 1, this next one should do it, and you can see how that would work. You could actually empty your entire deck of Hare Apparents with something like this, and the more ping effects you have, the better. This is a particularly good one because it can eat removal and be unearthed anyway, as we saw here, so if you're not lucky enough to get into your other burn effects, which we weren't, you can still get off a win like this. Otherwise there, maybe we were going for something like the Anointed Procession and trying to give haste to our stuff. It's not ideal because it's so mana hungry. It really is a means of trying to get into a pinger in this deck, because I'm not assuming that we're ever going to leave our commander in play for any length of time to hit all of our opponents for a bunch of damage. Although that would be a means of getting through a lot of damage here as well. You can see we've already got over 20 creatures in. You can see that we've already got 20 creatures in play, and that's with us holding back. So that's excellent. Finally got to see a decent Hare Apparent showing. So hopefully you all enjoyed it. If you want to see more from Hare Apparent, we've got 3 variants of it on the channel so far. If you do want to see more from it, then be sure to let me know as ever. Massive thank you to the patrons for their financial support as well. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.